Hello there and welcome. My name is Jimmy Wigman. I'm an Atlassian expert and I have been a little bit off for a while, and I'm going to be off for a while more. So I'm not going to pump out a lot of videos in the next couple of months. And the reason for that one is that I'm writing a book, and I've done this a couple of times, started a couple of times, and I've always had a little bit of trouble actually keeping motivated. So what I've done now is I've created this one instead more visually. I used to just start with writing text, and it never worked for me. So now I've done this one with the actual book layout in mind, and for some reason that one appeals a lot more to me. So I've only been doing this for a couple of days now, and I'm getting pretty good progress on it. And I would like to show you what I'm doing, because I want to ask you for some help. So let me show you my book here. So this is the book that I'm doing. It's called the Advanced Atlassian Administration Guidebook, at least for now. And the idea behind this book is I'm going to write a guidebook as I see it. How to set up, how to configure, how to maintain, how to work with strategies and things like that. So I'm not going to show you everything that I have in here, but I thought I should show you a little bit of the content that I have here. So I'm going to discuss a little bit of these ones and tell you what kind of help I need from you, because I can write this one for myself and it would be awesome for me, but I want this one to add value to you. So if you are an administrator today for the Atlassian product or for a platform, or if you are thinking about getting into the field and you don't really know how, or what kind of skills or what kind of things you need to be aware of before you do that, this is what the book should be about. So I'm going over here. So the first thing is a little bit of introduction, and then roles, because the role Atlassian Administrator is vague, and there are right now dozens of weird titles out there, and I'm trying to iron down some of these here and tell you exactly what is expected of you, and also explain a little bit difference between where you exist if you are an operational role or if you're a strategic role, but also if you have high or low authority, because you can have different levels of those depending on different roles. And then I go over a little bit about what is authority and why do you need it, because it's not that common that you actually have a lot of authority as an Atlassian administrator. You usually end up with IT support, and they consider you to be more of a support role. And that is not where we actually are supposed to be. We are product owners or product configurators, or we are responsible for a work tool. In most cases, it's a business critical work tool even. So I'm going over a little bit about that. And then I start off directly with strategies, because I have worked in this field for 12 years now, something like that, maybe more. And I see a lot of people that are in this field. They are, how should we put it? They are doing it because it's fun, and they are very good at it, but they usually don't have a strategic thinking. So I recently sat down and we had a discussion about how we should solve a certain configuration for one of our users. And I had someone that was supposed to be experienced in the field, and that person could not wrap their head around that we should not just solve the problem for that user or that team, because we need to think also about the bigger picture. Like, if we do this change, what does this mean for reporting for a whole organization? Or what does this mean for the work process that we have set up now from a governance perspective? And it's also very uncommon to hear people thinking of this one from a more product ownership perspective. So I rarely hear people setting up strategies or having predefined strategies for things like security and legal compliance, for example. So, because when people come to us and they ask us to build things or configure things, we always have to have security and legal compliance first, because those things will dictate if that is allowed or not. And then secondly, after those, we need to think about our strategies for the platform, because we can build anything basically. but it's usually not a good idea. And I've seen monsters that have like, in my position, I had 1700 custom fields, for example, and I had thousands of configurations that were so messed up that you almost thought it was a joke. And that is because the people before me did not have a strategy. They did not have an understanding of what should I allow and what should I say no to, because they were probably not in a position of authority. So in this part, I will actually set up different things like what kind of communication strategies do you need to set up? Who do you need to communicate with? How do you set up the security plans, access restrictions? How do you set up things like incident management? How do you set up one of the things that actually pisses people off the most is data retention, for example. If you have a huge instance, you can't have 10 million items in there. That's not going to work. Your Jira will die from it. Also things like data residency, Schrems, GDPR, all of these things. How do I think about this one and what can I do? What should I do about it? And then I'm talking about governance. So how do we align? Because we are working, the Atlassian tools are work tools. They are designed to actually help people work. That's the purpose for their existence. And anytime you're dealing with ways of working, you need to have some form of governance. Because everyone can't do their own thing. Because if everyone do their own thing, that there's impossible. It's like having 10 million ants without the coordination, and that's not going to work. You need to have some form of structure for it. And then I explain a little bit what governance is, how should we be involved in it as Atlassian administrators. And also, there are some types of changes that we do in our platforms we can't just do, because the impact it will have will actually, you're probably going to be tarred and feathered outside in the parking lot if you do it without actually communicating or getting buy-in from the stakeholders. So discussing a little bit or explaining a little bit which of those you need to be careful with. And then I go over my thoughts on the standard configurations. And standard configurations are just that, standard configurations. So you have, for example, your standard workflow for development, you have one for incident process, you have for change management, and so on. And these are only the basis. So I'm not going to sit here, or in the book, I'm not going to tell you that if you do this, then no one can change it. That's not the purpose of it. But so you have a start. So you have a starting point that you can actually build on. And then you will have the councils then, and the governance groups that will help you evolve these things. And then, of course, if there are teams, or there will always be teams that think that they are special or that they want to have special setups, and they can have those. But as long as they understand this is the standard, we're building everything in the platform for the standards. If you want to deviate, that's perfectly fine, but just so you're aware, we will not do a bunch of customizations for the other things that we already built just because you want to have your things special. So these will be also there. And then documentation. What do we document in forms of configuration? What do we document in terms of decisions and things like that? And I'm also going to have a little bit about assets, because I find assets to be very useful for documentation, or I did before they added the horrible restrictions on it. But I will still add that one to the book. So if you want to use it, if you want to pay for the madness that Atlassian have added to assets, then it could be a very good tool to keep track of things. Then I'm going to go through a little bit about support and education. So how do you actually provide support and how do you provide education? We see here as how do you educate them, and also what you should think about when you do workshops, for example, and what you should think about when you have classroom training versus online training, and also what is useful to have in written guides and what is useful to have in video guides. And also I'm going to have a little bit of dark secrets. These are things that I know no one really wants to talk about, but I'm going to. So I'm going to spit them out there and tell you like it is. There will be no sugarcoating. It's not going to be something that says you have to do this one because it's the best thing in the world. I will be very deeply honest with you. and tell you that there are things in this position as an Atlassian administrator that isn't all that good. And also, like you see here, Atlassian here are not the expert you might think. They publish things that many of us think that they have lost their mind. That is because they are humans. Atlassian is a group of humans, and sometimes they don't think the way we do, and sometimes we need to deal with that one, because our customers will, of course, look at that and say, but they made this workflow and this is how they define things. And then you go like, yeah, but the reality is different, and that's not how things work here. So a little bit like that. So what do I need from you? Well, you can see here what I have in terms of table of contents here. So let me just make it a little bigger. So what I would like to know is, what kind of information would you like to have when it comes to managing an Atlassian product or an Atlassian platform? What kind of information is it that you feel like, if I knew these things, I could do a better job? Or this is what I think you should tell new people that wants to get into the position of Atlassian Administrator. So for example, I know that a certain person here would obviously write in the comments that don't rename statuses. Yes, Alex, I'm aware, and that will be one of the points that I will have in here. Yeah. And I will quote you by it as well. So don't worry. But anything that you can think of that could add to this one in types of titles, because I will put my own spin on it regardless of what you want. And that would be awesome if you could put it into the comment. And also, if you think that this one seems like a good idea, I have like, what do I have? 50 pages or something like that at the moment, and I haven't even started yet. So I'm guessing this one will be probably 500-600 pages, and going to be a lot of graphics in here as well. I haven't even started to doing that. And also, for those of you who are interested in being part of like proofreading and helping me with getting this book done, feel free to add a comment too. I will invite you to a special group that I have on my website, and there I will publish some of the text and getting your feedback for it. And of course, you will be mentioned in the book as contributors, if that is something that you want. So that was that. Now you know I will be a little bit busy with this one, and I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to have fun writing this one, because it is something that I always wanted to do. But I appreciate some feedback, and just so you know, I come from a background from a scientific background, and I appreciate feedback, even if they are critique, or especially if they are critique. So if you are one of those people that says, yeah, I would like to be participating, but I don't want to be like complaining about things, then don't worry. I enjoy critique. I might not always agree with you, but I will always listen. And I do not get offended when you add critique for my work. So just add in the comment, what kind of information would you like to add to this book that you don't think is already here? And also, if you would like to be a contributor to proofread and to provide feedback and critique. So that was all. So with that, I just hope that you will have a great day and an awesome week.